America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. African father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javanokelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you once again for being here with us. We are now live on YouTube, and we're also live here on Clubhouse. We do this every single day, the Daily African Proverbs here in the African Father in America Club. And every day we have a new African proverb that we dissect and we gain African wisdom from it. You know, our hope is that by the end of the room, each one of us lives with something new, something fresh to think about. I would love for you to raise your hand if you want to come on stage, if you're on Clubhouse, because at 6:30 a.m. we are going to turn off hand raising. Today our proverb is from Uganda, and this proverb is also my latest Instagram post. You can engage with it over there in case you're not in a position to join us on stage. This Ugandan proverb says that the person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook. I'll just read it one more time. The person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook. You know, I love this proverb, and we haven't discussed a Ugandan proverb in a while, so I was really excited when I found one Ugandan proverb that would be relevant for today's conversation. I've been to Uganda a few times, and my hometown is, Kisumu in Kenya, and you can literally drive for less than 2 hours. You will be in Uganda, in the capital of Uganda, Kampala. So a lot of Ugandan, ethnic communities are also in Kenya. Even the Luo people, the tribe I come from. I'm going to mute David here. Even the Luo tribe that I come from in Kenya is also in Uganda. The Luya tribe that is in Kenya is also in Uganda. And then we have the Kalenjins that are in Kenya that are also in Uganda. So we are very much a connected community. So when I looked at this proverb, really it was encouraging us to explore the world, to travel a little more, because traveling is one of the biggest ways of educating yourself. And this proverb is encouraging us that, travel, but don't only travel, but taste some foods there so that you can compare some of the foods in these new places that you travel with your mom's food. But really it goes beyond just traveling and food. It goes further than that, it can even relate to your career, what you're spending most of your time doing to earn yourself a living. This proverb is encouraging us to, if you've been doing the same thing for too long, you could also try something new, so you can apply it in many, many different situations, That's what I want to start our conversation with. That's my interpretation for now. But when we gather here in the Daily African Proverbs, I learn a lot. And so I want to introduce David so that David can also share his interpretation. All of you are welcome to join us on stage. And then at 6:30, we will turn off hand raising, continue with the conversation until 7 a.m. And then after that, we are going to do the Instagram recap of the Daily African Proverbs. But for those who will have missed the conversation, the live stream is going to be on YouTube, and everyone is able to catch it there. The audio is also recorded for the African Father in America podcast. So thank you all for being here. David, thank you again for all your love and support. David's goal is to end poverty, and he is primarily passionate about SDG number 1. He addresses basic human rights needs for the marginalized at the grassroots. David, share with us your interpretation of today's proverb from Uganda. It says, the person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook? Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you, Simon. Good morning, and thank you everyone for coming in. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are coming from. Again, my name is David Otieno. I'm from East African Bloc. I was born in Kenya around Lake Victoria. So today, Simon, when I saw this today, I just started thinking about some of those yummy foods our mom cooked for us. It's like the dried beef, dried fish, roasted, potato. And then I started thinking, oh my goodness, is there any way anybody can do better than that? The special vegetables, the ones that they do at home. And I said, oh my goodness, who else can do this better than my mom? I was really struggling to kind of say, can I really not like that? But I think generally, I think that I do like a certain aspect of my mom's food so much that probably I don't know if anybody else can cook better than that. But that's just the perspective, kind of looking at the proverb from a little bit more of uh, a wider scope, rather. I wanted to quickly share my life story. I was actually born in a village around Lake Victoria, just as I pointed out. And when I was growing up, I competed with the locals, especially when I was in elementary in Africa and other places. They call that primary or foundation. So I used to compete with the locals. I used to play with the locals, trade with them, eat the local way, and also whatever I learned was what the local people shared with me. And then when I went to my high school, which was still in the local village, I did realize things changed. When I was in elementary, I used to be like very good in class, almost always top. When I moved to high school, which is a little more filtered with more people, all of a sudden I started feeling the pinch, the competition, and I was no longer the top. I remember the first time I was, I think, like in the third quadrant, I was not in the top. And then when I moved to universities, it even became a little more competition. When I became international student, I'm telling you, it even became harder, to become at the top. So generally, why am I trying to sharing this from my life story is I think it's about the perspective and the scope. I think that as you grow, you need to be able to always think outside the box, because different perspectives require a different solution. I think there is a word that says that you cannot keep doing the same things and expect different or better results. So that's the way I see it. I think that my interpretation is that, your mom's food is the things that we are used to. But for you to grow out of that, you need to think out of the box so that you can actually experience something better, um, and probably something that can expand your scope of thinking. So this is what I have today. This is David, and I'm done speaking for now. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you so much, David. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love how this could also mean that, like you're saying, for you to really deepen your understanding, and also for you to grow, you have to think beyond your mom's food and to explore. So yes, I agree with that. And also thank you for sharing your story with us, David. Now let's hear from Roger. Roger Chan is an amazing contributor to the Daily African Proverbs. He is in Singapore, and Roger has an amazing quote on his profile. He says that as the man of the house, I absolutely always have the last word. Unfortunately, the last word is usually yes, honey. Well, Roger, share with us your interpretation of this Ugandan proverb. The proverb says, the person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook. Thank you, Roger.
Hi, good morning. This proverb is actually extremely relevant to the modern context, especially in these times, because people fail to realize that their own perspectives are limited by their experience. So you could have somebody who is confronted with actual scientific data, but refuse to accept it simply because his or her own experiences contradict that data. And it's not that they're trying to be willfully stubborn, exactly, but more because they have not fully realized that there's a much, much larger world out there. For instance, I used to be offended when somebody would say something like, your English is surprisingly good for an Asian. And after a while, I realized that sometimes people are limited by their own experiences. They've never been to Southeast Asia. They don't understand that most of us are bilingual. And it's not entirely their fault. They have their limitations, and sometimes we have to be understanding. That's all I have for today. Thank you for hearing me speak. I'm done speaking.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, I can relate to what you're sharing. Quite a few African immigrants in the diaspora face similar situations when, when you try to show up like someone who knows what they're doing, in your leadership, in your command of the English language. We face similar issues too. So it was interesting to hear it from you as an Asian. So thank you again for being here. Now we want to hear from Joy Noel, but before we do that, I want to welcome everyone who is in the room to the Daily African Proverbs. We've been doing this since January every single day. We moved the time from 7 a.m. to 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time when the school season started here in the US. I live in Seattle, Washington, but I'm from Kisumu, Kenya. And I'm really, really excited that we are able to live stream this on YouTube. So if you're on YouTube, like my brother Evnea Durosu, welcome and thank you for joining us. And if you're on Clubhouse, welcome. I see that we have, next we are going to hear, after we hear from Joy Noel, we hear from the wonderful Sappho, and then Evnea, and then Janelle, Farleen, and Victor. And I also see that Annie is in the house, and Alex and Huyang and Roger and Kate and Milana and Laura. I want to encourage everyone in the Clubhouse room, ping in 5 to 8 people that you'd like to join us for this conversation, so that we can grow this little village as we continue. Let me introduce Joy Noel Anderson, who is based in Brooklyn and is an alum of the North Carolina Central University. Thank you for being here. Joy Noel is also a registered nurse and a certified hospice and palliative nurse. Thank you so much for being here with us. The proverb we are discussing is from Uganda, and it says, the person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook. Share with us your interpretation briefly, please.
Like, I guess when you're not, well, okay, growing up as children, you're first exposed to your mother, so you have no, your mother is usually your first teacher, your mother and father, so you're exposed to that first, so you feel that that's the best thing ever. And I still think when you travel the world, you're still going to think that because you've grown accustomed to that. But I guess what the proverb is trying to say is you have to explore the world to see what other options and what other things are available, so you could compare and contrast to see, is it truly true that is your mother cook the best, the food the best?
I agree. I think at the end of the day, you'll find that there's so much variety of foods. Just based on what you're saying, you'll find that there's so much variety that it's hard to choose whether your mother's is the best. But the impact that your mother's food. And when you talk about food, we also talk about lessons, and when we talk about lessons, for me, the proverbs, the daily African proverbs, is actually partly inspired by my mom, because she used proverbs a lot in nurturing me and my siblings. And it was not only her. In many African households, parents use proverbs to educate their children, but also to even argue or negotiate, or it's very commonly used in our communication. And there's no better way to continue this conversation than to pass the microphone to Sappho, who is an amazing leader and facilitates amazing programs here on Clubhouse. Sappho is the CEO of SF4A Designs Limited, which is a manufacturing company with over 11 years, in the industry. She's also a fashion designer, industrial garment manufacturer, a multi-award-winning fashion designer. Wow. Share with us your interpretation, Sappho. The proverb is from Uganda. It says, the person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Simon. You're far too kind. Greetings, lovely people. This proverb is said otherwise in my language. If a wonko obi a farmer, say now you're best farmer. Like if you haven't been to someone's farm, you think you're best farmer. That's similar to what you just said. My interpretation is that if you haven't heard other people, if you haven't been to if you haven't eaten from somewhere, you might think your mom is the best cook. So the interpretation is that other people probably have other people are wiser and actually have the best advice aside yours. So don't be stuck in your head and listen to other advices and learn and grow. Yeah, I think I'm done.
Thank you so much, Sappho. I wanted to give you space to also speak about some of the, amazing conversations you're holding. If you have anything coming up, share with the room, please.
Oh, yes, I'm a moderator in the Africans Funding Africans Room, the Good Morning Africa, and my own club, the African Fashion Lounge. We give advice not only to business, not only to the fashion industry. The last was how technology is improving the fashion industry. But the advices and the ideas shared, you can use that in your business if you're into online business or whatever business you're in. So it's not just for fashion designers or people that are in the creative space. So I would it's the first club in my bio. So please do follow the club, and thank you so much. And the African Fund in Africa, we talk about and I have another one called the Pan-African movement. That is also to change the mindset of our people. Because some people might think that you're just on social media talking and you're not improving anything. But what we are trying to do is changing the mindset of the youth so that we don't repeat the mistakes of our forefathers or our ancestors. So, yeah, good clubs. Thank you so much for giving me the space.
Of course. Thank you for all that you do. It's deeply appreciated, and I can't wait for us to collaborate in the near future. And now I want to introduce my brother Evnea Durosu, who is an author of an amazing book that I physically have next to me, and a huge contributor to the Daily African Proverbs, as well as the African Wisdom Club, and also the Africa Day Club. Thank you, Evnea, for all your contributions. Evnea, share with us your interpretation of our proverb today from Uganda that says, the person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook. But before you share, my brother, I just want to thank everyone for being here in the African Father in America Club with us for the Daily African Proverbs. In about 8 minutes, we are going to turn off hand raising. So this is a good time for you to join us on stage. And also, I want to encourage you to ping in, 5 to 8 people who can join us for today's conversation. With that, I'll pass you the mic. Evnea.
Thank you so much, Brother Simon. It's an honor to be here and share the space with you all. This proverb, I call this proverb a lie. My mother is the best cook. No way, not. But on a serious note, this is a good proverb. What this proverb teaches us or encourages us is to go out and learn from other people. Without that, we can be self-centered and think that we are better than others. When we remain in our own world, we remain in our own community, and we can become isolated. And we have other proverbs and other sayings that point to the same truth: is that if people stay at home, if people stay in the same place, if they are limited to a particular country, a group of people, a point of view, or ideology, they can remain individualistic, provincial, tribal, nationalist, or racial. Thus, people remain in their own, in their cramped ghetto-like worlds. So this proverb teaches us that universal human experience is getting around, getting somewhere else. This communication experience is cognitive, as it can be seen from many similar African proverbs and saying, travel broadens your horizon and enriches your experiences. So it is important to get out of your zone, get out of your little corner, and go out and learn from others and get experience in other places, so that you can expand your horizon, so that you can not only learn from other people, but also teach other people your values. This is what I believe. This is how I can interpret this proverb. My name is Evnea, and I yield the mic to you.
Thank you, my brother Evnea, for such a powerful interpretation that travel broadens your horizons and enriches your experiences. It's true. It's very true. Traveling is not easy either. It's very vulnerable when you're traveling in places where you don't speak the language. You have to be very, very humble. They say the farther away you are from your hometown, the more your influence wanes. So, traveling affects your influence, and I think you're more yourself when you're traveling, when you have to really engage with people from, a very humble place. I want to welcome everyone to the room, everybody on Clubhouse. Thank you so much for being here with us. And also everyone on YouTube, thank you so much for being here with us. We are continuing with the conversation, but in 4 minutes, we are turning off hand raising. I encourage you to join us on stage if you'd like. And also, I would encourage you to ping in, 5 to 8 people to join us for today's conversation. It's truly, truly appreciated. If you're not following the African Father in America Club, please do so. And if you're already following the club, please invite a few other people to join us so that we can grow this amazing community. At this time, we want to introduce Janelle. And Janelle is, she says that who I am is, Janelle is a singer, songwriter, and founder of chocolate jar. Oh, wow, that's amazing. Well, Janelle, share with us your interpretation of today's proverb from Uganda. The proverb says that the person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook. Thank you so much, Janelle.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. I really appreciate this room and this conversation, Simon. Well, I want to say my mom is an amazing cook. She is awesome. What they say here in the United States, she's off the chain, which she is. She's not only a good cook, she's is an amazing baker, and that's where I inherited my skills from my mother. I definitely think this is so good, Proverbs. But I think I'm going to go on a different route with Proverbs, if I may. So when I think of Proverbs, I always think of gained wisdom. Wisdom is so important to have in life. Not only that, it gives you a sense of not being too hasty about making decisions. So when you have good wisdom, you have good understanding. And when you don't have understanding, you don't make wise decisions. And my great grandmother, Laura, that's no longer here, she always put in my heart, even as a young age, we would read the true book of Proverbs. That's one of my favorite books in the Bible, and it has so much wisdom, and it's basically, it is the beginning of wisdom to me, and it has a good role of wisdom is praised for her role in the creator. So I just think that it echoes so deep in my soul. Also, to having my own business, Chocolate Janelle Job, I realized that it's not just about me, it's about other people. Not having a selfish mindset about me, mine, I, about what I want and how I want it and when I have it, and only helping my circle of people that I know. It's about helping, a helping hand, and extending a hand to those who I don't know, to help empower those who I don't know. I truly believe this world have enough room for everyone to have a piece of pie. It's not just for one person to be successful. I think it's for everyone to be successful, because I truly believe God, because we all have a God. He has given us talents and gifts for us to shine. And I want to say this, and I'm going to yield my mic. I was talking to someone that if we don't use our gift, then the graveyard is the most richest place here on earth, because a lot of us, we don't go forth with our gifts because we have fear, and or we think, oh, it's not going to happen, or we don't have the resources, or whatever your situation may be, and that holds us back. Or maybe we don't have people that are encouraging us to go forth. But I always say that go with what you have deep inside of you, and ask for wisdom, and ask for guidance, and follow your instincts, because what you have is probably what will change the world. But if you do not follow through with what your gifts are, then you will not be happy, and you will grow old, and you will look back, and you will wonder, what if? What if I'd done that? Maybe I would have had an impact on the world. And I yield my mic. Thank you so much for this time.
Wow, thank you very much, Janelle, for for sharing your words of wisdom with us. And it's amazing all you had to say in such a short time. I picked up what you said earlier on when you said that wisdom gives you a sense of not being too hasty in making decisions, and I think that has been my biggest benefit of being here in the Daily African Proverbs room almost every day since January. And thank you again for being here with us. I want to introduce Farleen. Farleen has been an amazing contributor to the Daily African Proverbs. We've hosted her also for, a deeper conversation in the African Wisdom Club. And, she's an amazing, multi-talented human being, based in Belize. She's a Garifuna Belizean, librarian, author, mother, screenwriter, director. And I would just love for you to share with us your interpretation, Farleen, of today's proverb from Uganda that says, the person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook. Thank you so much for being here.
Greetings, everyone. Farleen here in Belmopan, Belize. I saw this and then I was thinking actually of my mother and also of my grandmother. And my grandmother in the kitchen in the back house, where, of course, there was a fire hot and all the good food would come. And the way I see this is similar to what Janelle just said and others when it comes to awareness and wisdom and exposure. My awareness has started outside of the fire hot to know that other people use other things to cook, other means to cook. It came from books. And so when I look at this in a non-literal sense, I think about that, how you can travel by reading. And through that, you gain awareness of what others are doing in the world. And going back to cooking, I marveled when I was in Malaysia and also when I've been in South America, and I've seen the same ingredients we have here used in a completely different way to make completely different food, and just as exquisite, and if not some cases better. That was a marvel to see also that experience to bridge what I read that was very different from my experience to being in those places and seeing it, feeling it, tasting it, walking through it. So that's the way that I would like to just end in terms of my interpretation of the proverb for today. Farleen here, I'm done speaking.
Wow, Farleen, thank you. Thank you so much. As you are describing how seeing it and feeling it and touching it and smelling it is so different from reading about it. It's so different from reading about it. It reminded me of Zanzibar. A lot of people go to Zanzibar to the beaches primarily, but people forget that there's an amazing spice tour where you can visit some of the regions in Zanzibar where a lot of the spices that is enjoyed throughout the world come from. Before colonization in especially East Africa, and before oil was what people were fighting over, spices were a huge cause of conflict, and a lot of it at that time was coming from Zanzibar. So it was such an amazing experience seeing these spices, in our households, but then going to the farms and interacting with the people that grow them, and also testing them right there. Since then I've been trying to grow herbs and those spices myself, and I've not been very successful, but I'm making progress. Anyhow, now we want to before we introduce Victor, I just want to welcome everyone to the Daily African Proverbs here in the African Father in America Club. We are live streaming on YouTube, and Joanne, thank you for being there with us, and Evnea, thank you also for joining us there. My YouTube channel is Simon Javan Okelo. So if you missed parts of this conversation, you can check it out afterwards. The whole conversation and also the previous conversations here in the Daily African Proverbs can be found there. This is a way for us to document and also preserve and protect, these proverbs and our culture, and share it with people who are not on Clubhouse. I'm just so excited that we are able to do this daily. And, Victor has also been a contributor to this space. Victor, share with us where you are and what your interpretation of today's proverb from Uganda is. Victor is an entrepreneur, is a CEO, is the founder of Duka, and is also into logistics and tech, and also into the marketplace. He's a tech enthusiast. Victor, the proverb that we are discussing today is, it says, it's from Uganda, and it says, the person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook. Thank you so much for being here, Victor. The mic is yours.
Hey, Simon. Thank you so much, bro. It's nice to see you, or rather nice to hear from you. Yes, so my interpretation of this, I'm based in Kenya, so when I call Simon my brother, he's actually my true brother from in that sense, also being that he's from Kenya. So my interpretation of this proverb is this. So the person doesn't travel widely, thinks the mother is the best cook. So the elders were trying to remove us from our comfort zone when they wrote this. And I honestly believe that your mother is your best comfort or your comfort zone. And we all love our mothers, but our mothers can only take us so much or so far. We need now to also own up the process of learning and take initiative and teach ourselves. And we teach ourselves best, or we are taught best, by removing ourselves out of our comfort zone. So if it's traveling, and for example, imagine how it was traveling in the old times. You'd have to go through a forest. You'd have to learn how to evade the wild animals, sometimes not even evade them, but face them. You'd learn how to live, how to learn to cook in the forest, start a fire, and it goes on and on and on. Whereas those things would seem very hard to do, they would make a person, they would make a lady, they would make a man. And I can go on and on as to the benefits that would come from that time. Now, traveling helps us a lot. And if I just focus on traveling, I know a couple of people have spoken about this, but in my travels, I've seen and I've gained so much. One of the biggest lessons that I learned is that there could actually be more than one way of doing things right, and it is okay. You could even find three. So if you find a Ghanaian doing a different way of cooking rice than in Kenya, there's nothing wrong. Preserving fish, like happens in the Western Africa, a bit different from Kenya. Nothing wrong with that. So those are some of the things that this proverb brings to my mind. Removing ourselves from the comfort zone, and when we find ourselves comfortable within the vicinity of what we think is best for us, then we are really dying. We are not developing. We are not growing. So the challenge here is, from that proverb to me, is to develop myself, to grow myself, to remove myself out of uncomfortable situations, to travel and learn, because traveling teaches you to learn and demands of you to be diversified in terms of our thinking and in terms of our approach to life. So that's my interpretation. Done speaking, and I yield my mic.
Thank you, Victor. That was beautiful. Traveling demands of you to be diversified, and it forces you to learn. I love that. I feel like today the theme has been about, traveling for some reason. So I want to check in with David and also Evnea and anyone else who wants to join me for the Instagram recap. We do an Instagram recap right after this room where we talk about three things. The first thing is we talk about what stood out during the Daily African Proverbs conversation here on Clubhouse and also on YouTube. We talk about what was surprising, and then we talk about what is it that was the biggest lesson during this conversation. So please join us for that, and expect David or Evnea to be the co-host. But we welcome, anyone else in the room who wants to join us for that conversation. Feel free. Normally, I just, invite, speakers and contributors to the Daily African Proverbs to co-host it, so that, we can continue spreading this, idea of an African proverb a day to other communities. And our ultimate goal really is to help change the narrative about Africa, one proverb a day. So thank you so much. I want to introduce Annie, who is an amazing, friend and brother. We connected here on Clubhouse, and, we are talking about a lot of music, especially because of the work I do, with getting music instruments to Kenya every year through the education, music and art program that is part of One Vibe Africa's work in Kenya. So, Annie is a musician and is interested in collaborating with, organizations like One Vibe that, provides spaces where young people can access music and, resources so that they can grow their talent musically. So Annie is in Germany, I believe, and is saying, join our international jam session with your music instruments or voice. That's on September 30th at 8:30 p.m. CEST. The club is Music Was My First Love. And share with us your interpretation of this proverb from Uganda. It says, the person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Simon, for your introduction of me. This is, I have to store it, I think. And nobody said it better before. Thank you very much for that. And for the proverb, I'm very thankful because, for me, it says that you are in mother's care. And when you refer to music, normally everybody loves the style of mother singing. And the proverb says, okay, your mother is one of the best singers in the world, but if you don't leave her, if you don't overcome the fear to go out, then you will never hear other voices, never hear other singings, never see other cultures. And so you are not not really in the world if you don't leave your mother. That is my interpretation from it.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're not really in the world if you still rely on, on just being around your mother's, food. And, I don't know. I love my mother too much. I'm 37 years old. I agree with this proverb, but I still speak a lot about how my mother inspired who I am today. And she's such an influence in my life. I don't know if I'll ever shed all of it, but it's, you definitely have to go as far as you can in order for you to thrive. That's part of why I'm in Seattle, and my heart is always in Kisumu, Kenya. That's why I'm deeply invested back home, but I know that I have to be in the front line here in the diaspora. So I appreciate your share, Annie. And now I want to introduce Abrafi, who has also been an amazing contributor to this space. Abrafi says that humanity has become inhumane. We focus on celebrity status instead of being kind to our fellow brother and sister. Abrafi, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all the amazing work you do in Ghana. If you want, please feel free to share just for briefly for everyone to learn about that amazing work. And also share your interpretation of this amazing proverb from Uganda that says, the person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook. Thank you so much for being here. Abrafi, this is Simon. We cannot hear you. I see that you are unmuted, but we can't hear you at the moment. So while you maybe you want to get out of the room and come back, you'll still be on stage. But I want to welcome everyone on Clubhouse. Thank you for joining us. It means a lot that you're here with us on a Sunday morning. I want to check in with Abrafi now. Abrafi, go ahead, please.
Hello.
Yes, there you are. Carry on, please.
Good morning. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Um, this I love hearing everyone's take on the proverb for this morning. I remember in 2014, I was turning for my 40th birthday. I went to South Africa, and while I was in South Africa, I went to a place called Kapama, and I love oxtail stew. And my mom makes the best oxtail stew. And so I was there and I'm like, oh, no one can make better oxtail stew than my mom, ever. And so the lady was like, oh, I make the best oxtail stew. And so I said, okay, fine. So I tried it. And in trying it, I was like, wow, this is better than my mom. And at that point is when I realized that in order for me to really branch out and become a better person, I had to expand my mind and not think that my mom is the only person that can do things the best. And that for me was a waking up call for me to just begin to fly and be able to embrace other experiences in my life, and still knowing that for me, my mom is the best at what she does, but there's always someone else that does it, that can do it better, and to not limit myself. So from this proverb, it made me think about that moment in time in my life, when I began to branch out and expand my wings and know that I could do it not just only with my mom, but by myself.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much. I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Do you want to speak about the work you're doing in Ghana? I wanted to give you space for that briefly as well.
Oh, thank you so much. So my mom is in Kumasi, and right now I'm in Los Angeles. I usually travel back and forth between Los Angeles and Ghana 4 times a year. I was just there in July and August, so I'll go back again in December. And we work with about 5 schools in Kumasi. We have about, in our own personal program, we have about 350 children that usually come to our house between Friday and Sunday. And we do a lot of programs with them. We have our circle of friends where we ship barrels from the U.S. to Ghana for supplies. We have a bookstore, a library there in Atsumaso as well as in Fiasi. And we just try our best to make the world a difference. I was so happy the other day when my mom told me that this year we've already shipped 90 barrels of goods to the children that are there. And so, in Ghana, they say education is free. Unfortunately, free is a word that most of us know it doesn't really exist. So with us and our circle of friends and me packing barrels and shipping barrels, doing the best we can, we've been able to really help hundreds and hundreds of children in Kumasi. So I primarily focus on Kumasi. I have a few things that we do in Ada, as well, but primarily in Kumasi with the children there. So I'm proud of the work that we do. We recently did a arts program, which was very, very empowering. I was on this side running it from this side, and my mom was in Kumasi running it from Kumasi. And we have a really good friend who worked on the cast of The Lion King, who's an artist. So we kind of took that concept to Kumasi, and the children did very well having an arts program. And so it was good. It's been a blessing for the last 8 years of the work that we've been able to do at home in Ghana. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for being here, and continue doing the amazing work that you're doing, to support the children in Ghana. Now I want to welcome again everybody who has joined us for the Daily African Proverbs. I'm truly grateful to all the amazing, friends and guests on stage. And I'm really grateful to all the amazing friends who are elsewhere in the room. Now I want to introduce Easy. Easy MB, who is a digital artist, an art director, Adobe Creative Resident. Wow. Photoshop addict, my friend. This is amazing. Share with us your interpretation of today's Ugandan proverb. The proverb says, the person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook. Wow. I just followed you, Easy MB. I just want to learn a little more about what you do with all this Adobe knowledge. The mic is yours. Share with us your interpretation briefly, please.
Thank you so much, Simon, for the opportunity and allowing me to be part of this conversation today. I've been listening to everyone's interpretation, and it's whatever everyone has talked about is not far from what I have been thinking myself as far as my own interpretation is concerned. I think, first of all, I am captured by how it says widely. I think there's an importance to be put there on widely. So it's not just a matter of traveling, but traveling widely. And I think for me, first of all, my interpretation comes in two modules. There's like the face value side of it, which is basically to say that you need to go out. You need to go out if you need to see more, if you need to learn more. You need to go out you need to see more, you need to expose yourself to so much more than what you know. Being Africans, we are brought up to feel and understand the value that our parents basically put in us as we are growing up. And so there's, of course, that perception that, our parents are the best in whatever it is that they have exposed us to understand. As a young boy growing up in Kenya, there was no one who was better in terms of sorting things out like my dad. There was no other better cook than my mom. Until today, I still believe that my mother is like the best cook that I have ever known. However, that is not to abscond the fact that the little or much exposure that I've had traveling in other places, meeting many other different people aside the people that I grew up with, my siblings, it has taught me that there's so much more than what I grew up knowing. Coincidentally, cooking is one of those things that I really enjoy doing in my house. And there's so much that I have learned in my cooking that I did not learn from my mother, as much as I still believe that my mother is like an excellent cook. The other side of looking at it is understanding that the place that you're at, and I think it was Victor who talked of being at a comfort zone. I'm not so sure, but I think it's Victor who talked about comfort zones. But the other side of it is saying that the place that you're at, that you're comfortable at, might be a good place, and you might look at it and think that that's the it. Like there's no better place than that. But then when you go out and start experiencing other places, other environments, you realize that the knowledge and the skills that you have, or rather that you have gained or you have experienced in your comfort zone is not the it. There's so much more to experience out there in other places, in other environments. And so the whole idea for me that I'm getting from this proverb is that just expose yourself to more. There's so much more that life has to offer out there than what you already or currently know. Thank you.
Wow, there's so much more that life has to offer than what you already know. Yeah, that's true. And I love that. Thank you so much, Easy, for joining us. I appreciate it. Hey, Bibi, I hope you're doing well. I would love to hear your interpretation of today's proverb from Uganda. And, Bibi is another amazing contributor to this space. Bibi, has also another amazing quote on her profile that says, "Happiness is an inside job. Don't assign anyone else that much power over your life." This is a quote from an unknown source. Bibi, also known as Beatrice Wiley, is really, really an amazing leader, mother, athlete, and just a powerful spirit to be around. The proverb we are discussing today, Bibi, is from Uganda, and it says, "The person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook." Share with us your interpretation, Bibi. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Simon. And yay, this proverb is from where I'm from, so I'm excited to share this. But I enjoyed listening to everyone, but one thing I haven't heard from anyone is that, yes, it's true, your mom is the best cook, even if you've traveled. It's just that she's not the only one. The key word here is not, she's not the only one. So, here, I remember this proverb pretty well because my mom has used it on me a lot. And at one point, especially when it was time for me to go live with my grandma, so I can learn my language, my culture, and learn how to read and write it as well. She shared with me, because we were talking about leaving her behind and me not knowing where I'm going or who is there, or what if I don't fit in, or what if their food is not as great as hers. And I remember she told me that, yes, her food may be the best, but have I tested her mother's cooking? And I was like, no. And she told me, how would you know if you don't go? You can go test it, and you can learn from her how to be the best cook like I am too. And that stuck with me. And sure enough, when I went to my mom's village, I tasted her mom's cooking, and she was an amazing cook. But I still think my mom's cooking was the best because that's what I grew up eating from babyhood. But yeah, so hold on, okay, baby, I'll get with you just one second. It's time for me to go to school. No, there's no school today. I'm sorry, my daughter just woke up and she thinks there's school today. Now she's upset. But I'll get to her real quick. But yes, so I just wanted to share that your mom's cooking may be the best, but it's not the only one. So just be open, have an open mind, and travel the world, go learn, and you never know what you can find out. And with that, I am complete. Thank you so much.
Hey, Bibi, thank you so much. Could you ask your little one whether your food is the best, and then ask a few years from now? Bibi, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Let me ask her. Mariah.
Anyhow, while Bibi is bringing Mariah close by, okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, she doesn't want to answer. She's mad at me because I told her there's no school today. I'm sorry.
No problem. That's wonderful. Join us on Saturdays. We have kids in this room where kids share their interpretation of the proverb. Yesterday was beautiful, and next Saturday we'll also be doing the same. Next Saturday, I actually hope that I'll be in Kenya, and I'm hoping that I can bring the little ones over there to this conversation. When we used to host this room at 7 a.m. in the morning every day, I used to bring my little ones. But these days, the room happens a little too early, so they are asleep on Saturdays when we have kids in the room. But now we want to hear from Malcolm, who is going to close us out for the day. And then we are going to do the Instagram recap of the Daily African Proverbs with David. So join us there right at the end of this room. Malcolm, thank you so much for being here. Malcolm Cash is a native of Ohio, and he received his BA in African American Studies from Oberlin College and a Master's of Fine Arts in English and Creative Writing from the University of Pittsburgh. Wow, thank you so much. And Michael is the author of Sweet Home, A Family's Journey, and various creative nonfiction, poetry, Africana studies, focus, and essays on, wow, a number of amazing topics here from Lorraine Hansberry, Thomas Merton, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, and the Black experience in America. Wow, thank you so much for being here with us, Malcolm. Share with us your interpretation of today's proverb from Uganda. The proverb says, the person who has not traveled widely thinks his or her mother is the best cook. The mic is yours, Malcolm.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for the room. Thank you for all the wisdom that has come through and what I've heard so far. As you said, I'm from Ohio. I have had a chance to visit the continent 3 times and briefly saw Nigeria. Spent about a month or 2 in Ethiopia the first time and then in Ghana. So I've had a chance to see the homeland. And I had a chance to have some home cooking from the continent as well as my mother. Usually you think your mother is the best cook. My mother, we thought, was a good cook, but I have a brother who's a professional cook. And so we all clamored for his. I have a lot of males in my family who do a lot of cooking. But, I wanted to add that proverb with, I don't know if I call it a proverb, but our African brother from the continent, Amilcar Cabral, said, tell no lies, claim no easy victories, and do not hide the truth from the masses. And that's what fatherhood represents to me. I have 2 lovely children. The highest form of being that I can, besides being a child of God, is to be the best parent I can be to my children. And just listening to the sister who was just speaking a minute ago was quite moving, hearing her daughter think that it was time for school and being upset because she couldn't go to school. That tells me she's got good parenting because she wants to go learn. And so this has been a learning site for me. The Uganda proverb is very telling for me because there's another kind of cooking. It's a cooking of the mind and the spirit. And this site and so many of the brothers and sisters I've listened to since I've been on Clubhouse. And I do want to give a kudos to African literature. Y'all produce some of the greatest writers and my favorite living writers from African writers from Ghana. Ayi Arma has just an extraordinary book, my favorite novel of all time, 2000 Seasons, published in the 70s. And it's just a beautiful metaphor of the possibilities of African humanity. So I'll just lay it right there. Thank you for the room. I'll just listen from here on. Thank you for this opportunity to share. This is Malcolm.
Wow, thank you so much, Malcolm. This is Simon speaking. I am extremely grateful for your presence, and I can't wait to host you again sometime in the future. We host guests on in this room every single day too. So, reach out to Evnea or David or myself directly if you'd like to be a guest. And also that's to everybody else in the room. We are looking for guests from specific countries. If you're from Uganda and, you'd like to be the guest when we are discussing a Ugandan proverb, we want you to join us. The same applies to many, many other countries. And we are hosting guests on YouTube as well, so that, as we continue to spread this, concept of daily African proverbs, we can also bring the visual aspect of it. Today has been truly amazing, and we have come to the tail end of our conversation today. I want to thank you so much, David and Joy, Noel and Evnea and Janelle, Abrafi, Easy, Bibi, Malcolm. for staying on stage with us until the end. And also I want to thank all the contributors. Miss Basi, Sunday is always your day, and I wonder if you could just come on stage and say hi. It's been a while. Mama T, thank you so much for being here. Joanne, Tara, Huyang, I haven't heard your voice in a while too. I hope you're doing well. And of course Annie and Farleen and Roger. I just love the community we are building here, this global community that believes and enjoys African proverbs. And also to everyone else in the room, from Laura, Fred, Marcy, Domingo, Abdiaziz, Savoy, Mani, Kate, Emily, Chico, Karim, and I see Ashley has also joined us here, and Manjunath. Thank you all for being here. This room happens every single day, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on Clubhouse, and also 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube. I'm so grateful, and if you want to catch the audio version of this, you can go to African Father in America podcast on all podcasting platforms. I am grateful, and we will see you in just a few minutes on Instagram for the recap with my brother David, who is also on stage right next to me. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Peace and love.
African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze.
You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okello, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.